What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another chance encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building.
I'm joined today with Vish Muni. He's not only somebody I know, he's somebody I like. How you doing today, Vish?
I'm doing good, Dan. Thank you for having me.
All right, awesome. So, why are you here, my favorite audience member? It's because this is a chance encounter, which is where I interview commercial real estate investors. Part of the reason for that is because we have to, if we ever do any 506B raises, we do have to know each other. We have to know our appetite for risk and whatnot. So I have them on these punchy little 15-minute interviews where I find out level of sophistication, appetite for risk, and all that kind of exciting stuff. But Vish, before we get too far ahead of each other, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking time to listen to this podcast. My name is Vish Muni. I'm from Austin, Texas, and I've been a real estate investor for a little over 10 years. Started with single family, and that was 2009. And about 3 years back, I decided to get full-time into multifamily investing because I realized after 10 years, I was not able to do any economies of scale was not there and I was doing everything myself. And with syndication, everything has changed. That is what I do now.
Excellent, excellent. So you covered some of the motivation piece, which I focus on in the first segment here, but we'll get into some more detail for you in the audience in case you don't know commercial real estate that well. So the first motivation I found commercial investors have for wanting to make another acquisition is they're trying to preserve their purchasing power. So family offices and people who rely on the cash flow that comes from their assets to make ends meet, what they're up to, the reason why they usually make more acquisitions is because they're concerned about inflation. If inflation is too big, then suddenly those cash flows from those assets will not make it work. So that's not my particular motivation, but it's a common one. The next one is my one, which is I'm trying to trade time directly for wealth instead of relying on salary or wages or whatnot. I've got a background in the CRM companies, which is keeping track of your lists and marketing to them with emails and whatnot and taking online payments. But I realized if I'm giving away half of everything I make in the form of income tax, that's not the best way to accumulate wealth and just achieve any particular deals or goals that I'm looking for. But fast tracking retirement is definitely the most common reason why people decide to get into commercial real estate. They want to take control of their time. Maybe it means they want to work fewer months per year. Maybe it's fewer weeks per month. Maybe it's fewer hours per week. But regardless, they're looking to wind down. Whereas the next two groups, they are not. The first one, they're so ambitious. They want to buy their entire hometown. I always like to make the jokes about them wanting the skyscraper or whatnot. But these are the people who want to have that legacy wealth so that their great-grandchildren never have to get a day job. Whereas the last group, maybe it's not family, maybe it's a different group of people, maybe it's the environment, maybe it's animals, but they want to make a huge impact on society, and they recognize that accumulating wealth and that financial component is the most important part to really make that impact as far as a vehicle goes. So of those 5 different motivations, Vish, what really resonates with you as far as why you are making your next acquisitions?
So trade time for wealth. And that's one because I could have all the wealth, but if I don't have time, it is of no use. And then help people to whoever lives in my apartment complexes or my properties. I need to make a difference for them, because otherwise they have a choice. They can go live in any other apartments. But if they've decided to live with me, and I need to acknowledge them, and I need to make sure they get the best out of what they're paying.
Just for reference for you in the audience there, we'll go through the DanDoesDealscom die. You can get your own copy, print it out, and you can discuss it with your friends and family, so that way you can effectively communicate on the topic of commercial real estate. So let's go through those sides just so that you have them straight. So Vish already mentioned some elements of the repositioner role, which is that you're looking at a lot of different properties. You're probably relying on brokers as well. Vish, you're a licensed broker, if my recollection serves. That's right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, excellent. So the repositioner does all the paperwork. They do the underwriting, which is the fancy word for doing the math. And they're making sure that the property, that it's making the money that they say it already is, the sellers are already saying. And then they're also figuring out how can they change the property so that they make more money. So one way is through more efficient operations. You know, me personally, I can contribute in the marketing side to make sure that the vacancy rate stays low, but you also have your maintenance, your bookkeeping, your all sorts of things like that. But if you are able to use that operations piece to lower your expenses, then that's upside for the value of the building, which is good for the repositioner. But the repositioner might also need a contractor team to make the renovations, do the value add, and then that way they can charge more in rent, which is the real upside that the repositioners are looking for. Now, Vish also mentioned that many repositioners, myself included, we need to have a local. You need to have somebody who lives nearby who can be there in an hour or two, because it's sure not going to be me, because I'm from the internet, as I say. So those are generally considered the owners, but of course the banks are involved. We've got fund managers, we got banks, we got all these different types of people who deal only with money and paper. And what the financier is going to want to know, on top of who I've already mentioned, they're going to want to know who is your sponsor or KP, because you will not be eligible for a loan unless you have somebody in the fold who already owns a similar asset. So if you want a 150 unit apartment complex, a 350 unit apartment complex, whatever it is, you're going to need somebody in the fold to get a loan, to be eligible in the loan. I mean, in order to make that happen. And the other two requirements you have is you have to have a certain amount of liquidity, and you also have to have a balance sheet throughout the GP team that is equal to or greater than the amount of the loan. But if you have all those, you have yourself a commercial real estate deal. So just for clarity's sake, can you please repeat what you said as far as like how you're going to be doing local and a couple other sides, please, Vish?
Well, yes, thank you, Dad. Yeah, I can be boots on the ground, and I love to be boots on the ground, which means I should be local to the asset. Why I want to be local to the asset is, everyone talks about real estate is all about location, location, location. But location is great, no doubt about it. For real estate, location is the key. But in multifamily syndication, location may not mean anything if you don't have boots on the ground. If you don't take care of your property, it may not mean anything. You can have the best of location, but if you don't take care of it, if you don't have people looking into it, you could run it down pretty fast, really fast. So it's like you're buying a Ferrari and not trying to maintain it. It is definitely going to go down. And just having the brand name alone doesn't mean it's going to be taken care by itself. So that is what I feel I need to be local to the deal. And then taking down any deal, people and money is extremely important. So if you associate yourself with the wrong people, then you know which direction the deal is going to go pretty fast. That is number one. So I bring the people, the team. I put the team together for the taking down any deals. And along with people, you need a lot of money, and money comes in different forms. That is why the syndication is fantastic, because you take advantage of other people's experience. That is number one. I call it OPE, like everyone knows OPM. I call it OPE, other people's experience. So I bring that to the deal. And not just that, and other people's time, because I don't have the time to learn all the process. So I take advantage of OPT, that's other people's time. So not just money, So you take advantage of other people's time, other people's experience, and that is one. So that's what I do. I love to bring the team and the money and be local to the deal.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you said being local to the deal. The next question we usually go for is, what is the ideal property for my guest? This gives some sort of an idea of the appetite for risk, level of sophistication, those sorts of things. So when we're asking, though, we're asking for the geography. So we're talking about what states, we're talking about what counties, possibly even what neighborhood you'd rather have your next property, your next acquisition be. The next one is the unit count, okay, because people who are looking for a 5-unit complex are not the same people that are looking for a 500-unit complex. And then the last one is class. And Vish mentioned location, location, location. I always like to point out that location is relevant because it's the proximity to traffic, okay? If there's a lot of traffic going on there, then automatically that makes the location better. But when we say class, we split it into 2 parts. One is how close it is to schools, like better schools, what the crime rate is, and things like that. Whereas the other meaning of class is the condition of the building. Like, is it beat up? Is it super duper nice? And both of those definitions of class, we use the same rating system that you do on tests in school. So it's like B minus, B plus, A minus, and whatnot. So Vish, you mentioned local. So can you please give your buy box to the audience?
Well, that is a fantastic question, Dan, because as an investor, or whatever you're doing in life, you need to add value to it. And as an investor, your only objective is to add value in before you make money. And only when you add value, you get the returns in form of money, in terms of referrals, in terms of more business. And so how do you identify, or what locations you buy a deal, and why do you need to buy? So as an investor, when I buy apartments, I need to see if there's enough potential for me to add value in the deal. So adding value comes in different forms. So one is, I could probably make the living conditions for all the tenants better by improving amenities, by giving them washer dryer, or by giving them reserved parking, by doing valet trash, or changing the countertops, or giving them new appliances. So there are so many things what you can do in an apartment complex. So look for opportunities when you're looking for a property to buy. But of course, people say, I buy A-class apartments, but your objective is to add value and also make money, not just buying the right one. So look for those. And there are 4 different classes of apartments what you could look at to buy. So that is number 1 is A and B, C and D. So we focus primarily on B and C apartments where you can add value. And A-class apartments is a new apartments where you don't need to add any value. You just need to maintain them. And D-class apartments are on the other end of the line, which are either in a bad neighborhoods, or you can't change a lot of things. You can't change the location, because if the location is completely down, the city doesn't support you, and you can't do it by yourself. So we stay away from these 2. So we buy B and C. So B and C apartments just alone is not enough. You got to look for the crime rate. How is the crime rate in that neighborhood? And are the school districts good? And is there enough employment, enough jobs? The job diversity, employer diversity is extremely important. I mean, we should not be buying a property just because there's one big hospital which creates 4,000 jobs. Because if that hospital decides to downsize or goes down, then the whole city is lost. There's no jobs. So look for employer diversity, and there should be multiple different employers, starting from minimum wage to professional jobs. So the cost of living also has to be good, but look at states like California and New York, there's plenty jobs. Everyone loves to live there. But is the cost of living, can everybody go live there? No. So you got to look for cost of living also. So this are the key things what I look for in the population growth. Everyone should like the weather out there also. There are a lot of places that everything fits, but the weather is not really good. Nobody wants to go there. So the cost of living, the crime rate, the school district, and the employer diversity, that is the jobs. So everything has to come in sync. And that is why it takes a long time to identify a property and to buy a property. The sales cycle itself could be anywhere from 2 months to 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Awesome. And you mentioned earlier that you're in Austin. As far as how local you're looking to be, I know everything is at least 3 hours away in Texas. So, how far from Austin are you looking for? And like, do you want to mention like the Sun Belt states that you're interested in as well, or is it just the local piece that you want to discuss?
well, my first preference would be Austin, because I live in Austin, and next would be San Antonio,
Mm-hmm.
or Dallas and Houston. So this
Mm-hmm.
is everyone. It is known as a Texas Triangle, where you don't lose anything or nothing goes missing, but everything adds up. It's not like the Bermuda Triangle, so you don't need to worry about that.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. And as
So
far as unit counts, oh, sorry.
I I live right in the middle of Texas Triangle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really convenient. But as far as unit count goes, are you like in the over 100 range, or what you looking for more than anything else?
What I like to do is I like to go for minimum 100 doors.
Hmm.
So the reason being, when we are doing the asset management, the amount of work involved, whether to do 20 units, whether to do 50 units, it's the same. It's the same amount of effort. But only thing, when you're underwriting and when you're talking to a lender, you add a few more zeros. But other than that, the amount of effort involved is the same. But I always feel that I need to just push myself to challenge myself. So I love to do more number of doors.
Hmm.
But people would say that there's a number of risk involved. But if there's no risk, there is no thrill. It's like if you're only playing to win, and you could go play against the weakest team in the world and win, but that is no fun.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. So another thing that I really like about commercial real estate, because of all the different roles and all the different players, is we tend to help each other out a lot more than a lot of other professions do. And me personally, I'm best suited to help sponsors and KPs just because of my digital background. They usually have the systems and the assets in place where I can really help them scale. So that's who I'm always on the lookout for. But without breaking any SEC restrictions, so you're not allowed to entice investors on a 506B deal. But other than that, who are you best suited to help? Is it beginners? Is it people who are already established? Who's the best person to reach out to you, Vish?
Well, if anyone looking for a sponsor or looking to be boots on the ground that is local, and I would be best suited for that. And if people are looking to uh, get some money to the deal, and I would be able to gladly work with them. And like you are talking about 506 to be me, a little to talk about that is what I figured out is life and business is all about relationships. Without relationships, you can't have anything. Even if I have a dog, I need to have a relationship with my dog. Otherwise, the dog is not going to like me. It's going to probably not just bite me, and it would probably make sure anyone visiting my places also gets bitten. So, so no matter what, doesn't matter what you do, it all comes down to your relationships. So that way I did not have this when I was doing single family units for 10 years, because it was just me and the deals. That's all. But over a period of time, I've realized it's like 506 to be me. It's you need to have a relationships to do anything. Doesn't matter what you want to do.
Beautiful. And the best way to reach out to you, we met through some meetups, and I spent all my time on LinkedIn. Is LinkedIn the best way to reach you, or is a website better?
On LinkedIn would be the best thing to, because the website is always under changes. It's all constantly changing.
Yep, that's
LinkedIn,
how it goes. I
yeah,
definitely hear that.
LinkedIn would
So,
be the best way.
all right, awesome. And the only thing I have left is actually for you in the audience, which is under my left hand. You'll see, if you're on a desktop, you'll see this big, ugly red button. It's the worst thing pretty much ever. And the only way to get rid of that awful red button is by clicking on it. And it has a magical power. It turns gray, but the magical power is that YouTube starts paying for these videos instead of me. which you want to help me with that, right? Especially because it costs you nothing. You just hit the button. On a phone, it's just a red word to subscribe, but just full transparency, this is what it actually does. It means that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions. You don't have to watch them. Even just clicking the button, you've done me an enormous favor. Just like Vish, you've done me an enormous favor by joining me today. This has been great.
Thank you, Dan, for having me on your podcast.
Awesome. Thanks.